Senior Life Services. He crushes it. He is working on building a team in the division for himself right now. Ernie's won many different accolades here at Senior Life Services. He clearly has a good taste in candy based on the lollipop hanging on his on the wall to the right of him.
Bear.
Gummy bear. Jeez.
It's 100X.
100X. Okay.
Yeah, Lexi bought that me for fun. Just thought that'd be funny.
Nice. Forget 10X. We're going to 100X.
Yeah, that's right.
Cool. So Ernie is really good. Bottom line, Ernie's a beast. He's really good. And I want everybody here to be able to learn from Ernie and what he can teach you, because I don't care how long you've been selling final expense for. Ernie very well maybe better than you, but he can also teach you something. And the cool thing about Ernie is that he's always open to learn something from someone else. So you can learn something here, and he can learn too. And I'm sure Ernie would be totally open to anyone watching this video to if you feel like you kind of got a good personality match with Ernie and you'd ever like to work with Ernie in the future, then just comment on the video here, and we'll get you connected with Ernie. Ernie's a great guy. But enough me talking. I'm going to go here because we only got a certain amount of time for this interview. So I'm going to get the show on the road here. So Ernie, first question I want to ask is, you are really good at assuming the sale. I remember sometimes you said like, oh yeah, it only took me like this much time to get the person on the health interview or to get their bank information or whatever. So how do you assume the sale? If someone's looking to assume the sale, how can they emulate? How can they do that?
So I mean, I really believe, guys, that it really begins in the opening and follows all the way through. So I have a few rules about like when I'm opening. I don't really let them speak very much because I need to verify their information. I want to get some agreement that we have a goal together and that we're going to move forward by looking at like what they qualify for and then getting them some insurance. Like if I can't get that agreement, I can't get a beneficiary name out of them, there's really no reason for me to proceed. So that's just a way to be very efficient with your time and just making sure that they have enough time to actually go through that process. I do a lot of checkbacks. So like I always say, like we're consultants because guys, that's what we do. We're not Colonial Penn. We're not information kiosks. We're not sitting there just taking calls like Geico and saying, all right, give me some information. This is all I can do. So when you realize you are a consultant and you're trying to solve a problem for these people, it becomes a lot easier and they will trust you more. It's like, I'm not looking at one company. We're looking at a bunch. Everybody falls in different categories. What's right for me as a company will not be right for you. You could talk about Senior Life Services, been in business over 50 years. Almost all the carriers we represent, it's close to 100 years. But that's something you bring up a little later. I would say wording questions appropriately. Like a simple question is the goal here to make sure Jenny doesn't have to come up with that money immediately? I mean, that gets them right into it. You're starting to paint that picture. And then everything I say is assumptive. It really is. It's like, okay, I wrote down some stuff because I don't like being unprepared. So I wrote down, is there anybody else you want to add to this policy? Is this the best address to get the paperwork to you? And that's happening like immediately. So we will and then say something.
So like right at the beginning, sorry to interrupt. So like right at the beginning, you're like, hey, we got, like, you're looking at the lead and vanilla stuff, and you're like, because SLS provides leads to all of our agents. So when they're uploaded into a really good computer program, the leads are optimized for telesales. So some of the information that Ernie sees is the address, but it's right on the screen. So Ernie, what you're saying is, hey, I got your address here. It's like, 2300 Third Court in Vero Beach. Is this the address that we're going to be, is this the best address to get the paperwork to? So you'll say it's
kind of like that. It's not necessarily right in the beginning, but I'll bring it up at some point. So, and then like I'm bringing up, we send out, so those that don't know us, we send out memorial guides, we send out living wills. Like I might throw that in there somewhere, just if I'm getting a feel for them. It's like, so when you receive the welcome packet from me, and this is like before the sale is actually made, when you receive that welcome packet, make sure you fill that out so Jenny knows exactly, what's going to happen when you pass. Because I mean, of course we're solving, and I'll say we're solving the financial problem, but uncertainty is just as bad. I mean, you could leave a check for somebody for 10 grand, but if you leave no instructions, no cremation instructions, no burial instructions, how does that person know how to spend that 10 grand? Another one, It's like this is a statement. After today, we will coincide your payments with Social Security. This is basically stating implicitly that we are drafting that today. And then in the future, we'll draft it on the 3rd, the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th Wednesday. And I will say this one. So after quoting, like I listen to a lot of calls and I'm willing to listen to a lot more. After quoting, a lot of people keep talking.
Yeah,
And
I
they
noticed
really
that
do.
huge. I noticed
Yeah.
that huge. That's something I got to train on too. Because
Mhm.
yesterday I was jumping into some calls with agents, and it's in like it even happens with people who have been doing it a while too. Like they'll quote and then just keep and like gonna go back into the presentation and just keep. I'm
Right.
glad you brought that up because I noticed that, or just keep talking because you
Mhm.
get anxious. But yeah, you just quote and shut up. And that's
Exactly.
it.
That's what I wrote down here. Shut up. So, yeah, I think it's just because like 5 seconds goes by and it feels like an eternity. But I was listening to Nick's call and he did a really good job because I've told him shut up, shut up, shut up.
Yeah.
But it was actually a full minute where he didn't say anything, but that full minute let the person look over what he had already written down, which is always key. Get him write this stuff down. And then she made a decision. She's like, after going over the 5 quotes, full minute feels like 20 minutes when you're
Yeah, it
waiting for
does.
an answer. So just, even if you have to mute yourself and just, just kind of scream the whole time, like say something, like muting yourself, even like when after you ask a question is a really good way to make sure you get an answer
I
and you're
love
not
that.
freaking out. But you can yell all you want or just be like, come on, answer.
And then you come
But
off mute, you're like panting. You're like,
yeah, yeah. Well, that's why we're supposed to get to the gym so that you can at least hold your breath for 5 seconds. So, and then I'm just gonna go more assuming because I know this is important. Like I like to train like you do, nuts and bolts more than. I'm not a motivational speaker, but I will train nuts and bolts really well.
yeah,
So as you go through your own recordings, I know nobody wants to listen to yourself. It becomes easier. You will find that almost every question that you're asking can be altered to make it massively assumptive. Like almost everyone. I mean, if you guys throw questions at me, I can change them and make it so that it's an assumption, everything that we're doing. So you want your prospect to have that aha moment where they realize, oh, I guess we're doing that right now. It's like, and they will. They'll be like, oh, okay. And then they kind of, you just feel like a tempo change and they kind of just shut down and then they just kind of follow you along with the rest of it. And more important than anything, do not argue about anything. There's no reason to have an argument. Don't get defensive. I didn't do this. And it's just a throwaway. You just basically say something like, yeah, I don't remember what I had for dinner last night anyway. And like, it's like, I know one of your questions is going to be about objections. I mean, that's how I handle a lot of objections. Complaints are not objections. They're
okay.
just saying things.
So yeah, so it's like, how do you what's your essentially saying like what's your favorite objection to answer? And the reason why I ask this is because some people have certain objections that they're just good at handling, good at overcoming. You know, I'm pretty good at like when someone's like, oh, I don't know if I want to give my bank information out over the phone. I've been able to handle that and get that. So that's why I asked that. But I'd love to hear your take on it and what you do to either avoid objections or to what you do to handle.
Right, I wrote down a few things. Obviously, my favorite objection is no objections, but you're not going to get that. But actually, those, like I was talking to Karen Schertz yesterday, and we kind of agree. When you get no objections and it just goes so smoothly, those are the ones I'm worried about, like canceling or whatever. Like the ones that just go along with everything. You're like, yeah, do you know what's happening here? It's like you almost want to like reconfirm everything.
Yeah, I noticed the people that put no resistance or that you're able to push through after they give a ton of resistance. Those are the ones that typically have the highest fall off. The ones in the middle that kind of give a little pushback and you got to work at them. They haven't seen them.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to quickly over so just realize what's a complaint and what's an objection. Because a lot of objections, Mika told me early on when I started is like she was doing like a group meeting and I didn't realize about myself, but she just said Ernie just agrees with them and moves on. Like they didn't even say it. And if it's a real objection, it will come back up. So, so in most cases, agreeing, moving on, or use like the Belfort system, agree, distract, then move on. Ronald's a master at that. So my favorite probably one is let me speak to my daughter, son, husband, wife. If they have a POA, of course, you really can't proceed. But in that case, like daughter or sons, they don't want to talk about their parents' mortality, and you can easily bring that up. It's like this isn't a dinner table conversation to have with anybody. So usually how I handle it, and I kind of I talk to Karen every day, so we handle it pretty much the same way. Is like, yeah, when the policy comes out, I do encourage you to review that with your son, daughter, but like you like to see something in black and white, right? And then they'll say yes, and then you just proceed, and that's where the assumptiveness comes back in. You're just proceeding down the line.
Cool. Yeah, because that's such a stall. Like talk to my kids. It's like, come on, what do I used to ask, like, oh, did you ever ask them if you had to cook them dinner? Did you ask if they were hungry when they were kids, or you just cook them dinner?
Right. Or you just feed them.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah,
you just feed them. Okay, well, we're going to be putting food on their table again. So cool. I like
and I do say, like when you ask them that question, if my mom came to me today and asked that, of course I'm going to tell her not to worry about it. But of course I am worried about it. It's like I really don't want to pay. My mom's young, well, 60 something, but healthy. It might be 40 grand. It doesn't matter how well I do here. 40 grand, like we're kind of like investing in our future and stuff. 40 grand in cash might not just be available at that moment in time.
But usually it's not. It's not.
Right.
And the thing I tell people too is like, yeah, can I cover my dad's funeral? Probably, but do I want to? No.
Right. No, I don't want to. Like
Yeah.
I would prefer he did. But
cool. So next thing here, man, how much activity did you put into training and learning when you started? And I ask this because there's a lot of confusion around the flexible schedule, starting your own business thing. And I think a lot of MLMs out there put off this like horrible idea of someone running a business, because in insurance, we're really running our own business. Fortunately, we have SLS, a 43-year-old company started by Rory that is just like a powerhouse that we're kind of just, where it's like we're dragging on the back of an 18-wheeler that's been hauling down the highway. So we drift, we catch the drift. But that doesn't mean that. It just means that we're able to capitalize more on the effort we put in. So what I want you to talk about here is the effort that an activity that you put into training and learning when you started, and how you treated it, and your recommendation to new people getting into the industry or into our agency on like, hey, how much do I got to put in the beginning to get as good as where you got to now?
Right. When I first started, I mean, I'll be real honest with you guys, my first week, and I like to figure things out myself, but we did not have the type of training we have now. So we're blessed right now to be able to have all of this additional software. They used to email us leads 20 a day, or not 20 a day, that would have been sweet, but like 20 20 on Monday, and then you had to earn the ones that you got on Wednesday. So you could either get 0, 5, 10, or 15. And basically I did like that incentive, because that basically made it so you better work your butt off Monday and Tuesday, because otherwise if your talk time isn't there or your production is not there, that you're not getting more leads.
Yeah.
So that was actually a good incentive that I wouldn't mind figuring out how we could reinvent that. But it was a lot different. It wasn't vanilla soft. I had 27 hours of talk time with 0 production my first
How
week.
did you call the leads? How did you call the leads?
Just short tell you, we dialed a phone.
So it was a phone.
Yes.
It's a phone. So what Ernie did, he had 27 hours of talk time with no sales, picking up a phone and punching the button in.
Yes.
And hanging up. Picking up the phone, punching the number in, picking up. So he was calling on an actual landline phone. This video will be dated. The definition of landline will be removed from the English dictionary at some point.
It looks like this.
There it is. All right,
Still
keep going.
there.
I don't want to interrupt you there. Keep going.
So yeah, and then my second week, I think my paycheck was $1,300. So
nice.
There you go. I mean, when I do something, I just can't accept failure. So I went home. You guys recommend this book over and over again, Jordan Belfort's Straight Line System. That's what I based my entire presentation on.
Yeah, me too.
I read that entire book, and then I changed a couple things to make in the script, and it's basically the same script, just a few things updated. But I wanted it to sound like me. Like I can't read Crystal's script and have it sound anything like my personality or anything. And that's important to know, guys. Like she's bubbly, I'm not super bubbly. I can joke around well, but I'm not going to be like, hey, I'm so happy, you know, you qualified. And that's just not me. It works for a lot of people though. So, all right. So what was I going? Okay. I kept that type of activity up because once you see it happen, and 25 hours is not that hard to do, especially when we have vanilla soft. I mean, I'd go through, I had 30 different windows open with all of the leads that were emailed to me over 30 weeks and just picking them at random because there's no system in place at all. Go into Google Calendar, make your own appointment, set your own stuff. And every day is just like figure it out. So it's so much easier now, but the activity, I also wanted to speak to like activity doesn't always necessarily have to be like the minutes that you were talking to people.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
I read a lot of books and figured out everything, and every single time I saw something wrong with my own presentation, or you know, because you'll say things that you know are dumb, and people will tell you, hopefully if they're your buddies and they're helping you, it's like stop saying that. Like and as soon
Yeah.
as like as soon as somebody says that to me, it's like, okay, why? And then they'll tell you, and you know, you have a lot of good people around you, and like if they tell you to stop saying it, really get rid of it. And that's why I do believe in training and listening when you first start more than anything, because we will develop bad habits and then it's so hard to get out of them.
Well, that shows you're coachable,
Right.
because that's a huge thing too for anybody watching this or anybody attending right now. Being coachable and like being like, hey, this is what you should change about it, or this is the effort that you should put in, or activity that you should put in to make this work for you. So
hmm
yeah, cool.
And like you said, like when you first start, I mean, guys, it's not part-time. Flexibility is great, but you don't get to be part-time when you first start. You need to like whenever Karen is talking to somebody, and I've kind of stole that from her. It's like when you first start, and interview Karen like she's a machine. But she just told him when you first start, and she first started, it's like she didn't leave the place until she got good at it. And now look at her life. She's got the dream life for her. She can do whatever she wants. In 3 days, she can do a lot more in production than a lot of people. And that's simply because she's gotten good. I mean, you get better and better. And I think I see a lot where, you know, people hit a certain production and their talk time to the ratio of sales, you know, really doesn't increase. But as time goes by, it really should. I mean, you
Yeah.
should be, I mean, that was my goal. It was like, I didn't necessarily have to win Ultimate Challenge or do all that stuff, but I wanted to be, I mean, I don't think I'm there because I think Mika's the best in this company at like, I wanted to have like not the lowest talk time, but every hour of my talk time equaled
Most
a large,
profitable.
most profitable per the amount of effort I put in. That was
I
my
think a
entire
big
goal.
thing there, I think a big thing there, I'm interrupting for a second, is that
hmm
like a lot of people view activity and talk time as the enemy, I think, as like
hmm
something they're up against, but it's actually your friend. Like
It is.
activity and talk time, dials and talk time are your friend. The phone is your friend. So if you, and it may just me, just that's just maybe an incorrect perception from me on assuming what sometimes gets thought about as talk time and dials. And
hmm
sometimes, on our calls, we can drone on about activity, but activity is not the enemy. Effort is your friend. Activity is your friend. The phone is your friend. Your dials are your friends.
hmm
Clients are your friends. In the present amount of presentations you have, is your friend. I think that's a good statistic to track. I know the back office can't really track it as much, but I think like
hmm
how many presentations did I have today um, may go a little bit farther sometimes than was my hours there, because like Vicky, she can get us in on 15, 20 minutes, and,
No, I
and
believe it.
that's going to be like,
hmm
the talk time's low, but she does 5 of those. She'll have a few hours of talk time, but she's going to have those. But now I'm not saying anybody new to try to just race through a presentation. She's been doing this a
No.
while and she's developed a skill. Follow, if Ernie is your trainer, follow the system that he has in place. Before like working on developing your own.
Exactly. I'm so impressed with Nick.
That's awesome.
And he follows it almost exactly. He does. He follows it exactly, but because he has that almost memorized, I believe, or at least he's following it to the point, he can veer off topic so easily to have those small talks and
Yeah.
build that connection because he can go back to it. I mean, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here because I'm not going to make a square wheel and tell you it's better than a round one.
Yeah.
There's so many. I see that everybody wants to do it on their own, and if you want to know why I say the things that I say, then ask me. And I understand in our culture, if we can't answer the why I'm doing something, people just won't listen. It's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
so.
So what are your goals here at SLS to wrap this up and in the industry as a whole? What are some goals that you have? I know you're always working towards the next milestone for yourself and the next thing you want to cross up the list, which is a beautiful thing about this industry because you can always grow, you can always get a little better. So
Right. My goal is to, build a successful team. I'll probably build it a little slower than you, sir, but I would like them to have, I think one of the goals is have the highest AP per agent, production per agent, because that's just a fun goal. I know that everybody around me is happy and successful. I need to, I think I'm not going to ever say I mastered like sales, but I can certainly get better at mastering my ability to train people with correct systems and just figuring it out. And I like to try things, and if it doesn't work, I throw it away and try something else. And and like you said, like sales, it's not boring, but once you get good at something, I get bored. I'm very like that, very addicted. Like I got to find where's the new challenge. So the new challenge for me is just going to be recruiting the right people and training them, having them stay. SLS is not 8% nation. I'd say we're much better than that. And if we can start retaining 50-70% of people and hire the right people, then I think that'll be an awesome goal. I want to be $1 million builder, keep my personal and work relationships solid. And those that don't know me, I struggled for a long time with alcoholism and stuff like that. And I had a slip not that long ago. And I'll just be honest about that.
Yeah.
Because we're all going to have, if you guys want to talk about that, it will help me more than it helps you. I mean, we're in sales. So we have a lot of addictive personalities that, are on that kind of stuff.
I think a lot of our top people I had a heroin addiction. We have a lot of our top people had addiction issues, and I see what you're coming to embrace, maybe similar to what I've embraced. It's just outside looking in. Is I realize I'm always going to be obsessed or addicted to something. I always am, and it's gonna. I'm gonna use it to my advantage, and it's like I'm just gonna be obsessed with this, and because I can be obsessed with bad stuff. I'm really good at that.
Yeah, me too. I am. James will call me as you are the worst alcoholic I've ever seen. Is well, at least I'm the best at something.
Yeah.
The best at being the worst.
Yeah.
But that's cool. Some of my, that's my goals. And I need to balance myself properly. James is our director of operations for those that aren't part of SLS. And, one of the executives, I still call him the director of operations because he, that's what it seems like to me.
The senator, the director of operations. He's a man of many hats.
Yeah, he's actually told me to go home on several occasions because that's addictive. And I just want to I know we only got 3 minutes. Just balance myself appropriately, stay efficient, and and I'll tell you a little shout out to Lex. She bought me some sweatpants that say "Mental health is your real wealth," and I I truly believe that because if you can keep your your mind right, everything else will follow. Keep your body right. That's what we talk about, the 5 a.m. club. And make sure, and I also want to build other builders. And I know that's a goal of yours as well.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And, it's going to be trickled down. This agency is going to get huge. So you're not going to have the ability to talk to every single agent, but you can build other builders that are like you, duplicate yourself so that they can support their agents appropriately.
Exactly.
And we got less than a minute. Anything else?
No, thank you so much, man. That's awesome. Perfect. I'm gonna we got 2 minutes. I'm not really gonna open up to any other questions. What I'm gonna do is end up ending this recording.